Welcome back to the Expanded Minds podcast. Today, I have a special guest with me, and his name is Nakula. Nakula is passionate about coaching men and helping them accomplish their dreams through mastering the semen retention lifestyle. The reason why I have Nakula on this podcast is because of his passion around the topic of semen retention, how he considers the human spirit and the development of spiritual power within an individual, and how he makes a stand for masculinity and being a strong man in an age where weakness is encouraged. So, with that being said, welcome on, Nakula.
Thanks,
And
man. I appreciate the opportunity to chat with you.
yeah, let's get right into it. So, can you give a 1 minute definition of what semen retention is? Because I know that some people may not have a clear idea of what it is or may have some stigmas around it or are new to the concept. So, can you give a quick 1 minute definition of semen retention?
Yeah, absolutely. So semen retention, it's right in the words. We're retaining our semen, meaning we're practicing a lifestyle where we're staying away from pornography, masturbation, and essentially at its basic level, ejaculation only happens in the most natural setting, which is with a partner. At more advanced levels of semen retention, we're actually practicing non-ejaculatory sex and experiencing non-ejaculatory orgasms, and there's many reasons we do it, from biological reasons, psychological reasons, emotional and spiritual. And we can, touch on all those different levels, I'm sure.
Definitely. So, so when people first start semen retention and start going on the journey, it may seem like something that's very daunting or very it can make you kind of feel somewhat despondent because of the patterns that you develop. So when you first hear about semen retention, you may think of like, well, why would I quit it? Because it feels so good.
Yeah.
I had a long day at work, and I enjoy going home, turning on the hub, and and letting loose, firing a couple blanks. So it kind of doesn't seem beneficial at all, and there could be a lot of like resistances when you hear the word semen retention because it's kind of like it feels a void. Watching the hub feels a void inside a lot of men nowadays because they kind of feel lonely on the inside or don't have the ability to create connection, intimacy with others. So when you first are on the journey, you kind of feel somewhat despondent, or maybe you can feel somewhat lethargic. And so there can be mental warfare and spiritual warfare when you first start this journey. And mental warfare, as in like when you have the desire for sex and when it comes up, you have all these thoughts that come to you, and like, all of a sudden you're mentally disabled and you don't know what to do with this desire and urge. And so on the mental side, you have these thoughts that come to you, you have the desire for sex, and you're thinking like, what do I do with this? On the spiritual side, and kind of what I think on the spiritual side, some of it can be propaganda and some of the things that are pushed through society with the music and frequencies, and things like that. And also there, in some traditions, I don't know if you follow some of these as well, but there's spirits that can influence and things like that, such as succubus and incubus spirits, and they basically drain your sexual energy and your life force energy until you feel depleted of all your essence and energy. So for you, when you started your semen retention journey, like what kind of like mental warfare did you go through, and what kind of spiritual warfare did you go through in order to kind of hold on to your seed and hold on to your essence?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's a great question, and there's lots of challenges. That's why we have a whole coaching and training program to support guys who are serious about wanting to experience this power and this lifestyle. On the mental side, one of the biggest challenges that I had, and that I think many guys that I've worked have had, is to rearrange our belief systems and what we've been told about masturbation, ejaculation, and the power of our S3X energy. So mentally, we are told generally in this modern age that it's healthy to go home, rub one out, and we can do it for stress relief and all these things. What ends up happening, though, is what many people don't understand is, take sex out the equation, and let's just look at semen at a biological level. Your body is pushing you to have sex. That's why you get horny. That's why we as men are like, oh, look at her, or wow, she's hot, and whatever it is, right? It's because it's hardwired in us from a standpoint of survival. For our species to continue, you essentially have to have sex. Now, what's interesting is that the mind can't distinguish on its own. The body and mind are one thing. So when I say the mind and the body, I'm speaking of the exact same thing. Similar to like your car and your steering wheel. The car and the steering wheel are one thing, but they're different components of the same machinery. The mind is compared to the steering wheel and the body is the rest of the car. When your body has those urges, it's because your body is basically saying, hey, you should go and have sex so that the opportunity for your DNA to continue on this planet can have that opportunity. And so that's why we have the urge to have. So it's a very natural thing. And the first thing that I never want anybody to assume is that semen retention is somehow demonizing or putting sex in a bad light, like saying sex is a bad thing. Sex is a great thing. It's a healthy thing. In fact, sex is for the healthy. The more healthy you are, the more successful you are, the more opportunities nature will provide you to actually have real. The challenge is when you are hearing messages and you're thinking, okay, well, like I can't concentrate when I'm horny, or, I've just read, a magazine article that said that it's, if I don't ejaculate, I might get prostate cancer, or all of these type of messages that we're hearing from the mainstream narrative. It can become confusing. So I really encourage men to do your research, really learn what happens. And so I'll give you a quick overview of what happens, like the Cole's Notes version. When you eat something, whatever you ate 30 days ago, today is coming out of your bone marrow. So when you eat something, let's say you ate an apple 30 days ago, that apple is going through a refinement process in your body where it's broken down into guile, and guile's broken down into blood and tissue and bone and marrow. And from the marrow, the bone marrow eventually extracts semen. And semen is essentially concentrated blood. So it takes anywhere from about 40 to 60 ounces of blood to create 1 drop or 1 ounce of semen. So it's a tremendous production going on in your body to create semen. And from a biological perspective, because your body essentially wants you to go and have kids, it's storing your best stuff in your semen so that when you do ejaculate into a woman, your sperm mixed with your semen, all your best nutrients, enzymes, and proteins are stored in there to give the best opportunity for life to happen in the woman's body. So all your best stuff is going there. What happens is when you start ejaculating frequently, you are essentially wasting your best proteins, enzymes, and nutrients. For most guys, like on their belly or in the tissue or down the toilet or wherever it is that, you're doing it. Right. And look, I say that with no judgment. If anybody's ever connected on my channels, heard me on podcasts, I'm very open. I learned about masturbation. I experienced masturbation like most guys around 9, 10 years old. And pretty much since I discovered it, it was on, it's like, oh, this is great, right? This is great. This feels great. It's awesome. Add porn in the mix and it's like, whoa, jeez, it's a party here. Let's do it up, right? Until, of course, I became enlightened with this knowledge. And so what ends up happening, the body in nature is very efficient. It doesn't waste anything. So right about 7 to 10 days, depending on the individual lifestyle, and there's some few different factors. Your body, by nature's design, goes, "Hey, man, you haven't busted a nut." Meaning, the way your body interprets that is, "Hey, the opportunity for our DNA to continue has not happened in the last 7 to 10, 14 days. So we're going to help you out." What we're going to do is, first of all, we're going to stimulate your testosterone. And right now, we know that men have low testosterone levels first time in history, at least in our written history, are we experiencing such low testosterone levels in men, low sperm counts, men experiencing erectile dysfunction, premature ejaculation, men experiencing low libido. This is happening because our testosterone levels are low. And that's happening, one, because of pornography and masturbation. And I'll explain why in a sec. Processed foods, lifestyle, sitting at computers all day, not exercising, spending too much time in front of video games and Netflix. We are not building strength, physical strength. So about after 7 to 14 days of semen retention, your body goes, hey, man, I'm going to help you out. I'm going to stimulate your testosterone. So first of all, you start getting more testosterone pumping through your system. And that's why so many guys, when they practice, no fap or semen retention, they're like, I feel like a king and I just want to, and all of a sudden I want to work out and all of a sudden I have ambition and all of a sudden I don't want to sit here and watch Netflix. I want to go out and conquer the world. And conquering the world can mean, going and taking care of your family or getting those projects done or starting to make more sales or start wanting to, all of a sudden the desire to want to advance in your career all of a sudden goes up. Because as your body has more testosterone, remember, body and mind are one, you have psychological benefits as well. So the more testosterone in your body, and T levels are so important for men. The higher our testosterone levels, the more masculine we are. What makes us men is our testosterone. So therefore, the more testosterone that we have, the more masculine we are from a bodily perspective or a biological perspective, which then naturally influences your psychology as a man. You have more desire. And the reason that your body stimulates your testosterone is so that you can essentially become more masculine, because what creates attraction to women is polarization. So the more masculine you are, the more feminine energy women will find you attractive. So once you understand this, you recognize, oh, I want to be more masculine. I want to have high testosterone levels, because this is going to give me better opportunity to attract women into my life or a partner into my life in which I can have babies and have a family. What ends up also happening is that you now start to develop an excess of semen. Basically, semen is storing up in your body, and the body's going, well, what do I do with this? So what happens is the body starts to recirculate the semen within you through your bloodstream and starts to redistribute your best proteins, enzymes, and nutrients, repairing your cells. This is why guys will experience deeper voice, thicker hair, brighter eyes, more fat loss, muscle growth. It's easier to, when you work out, it's easier to gain muscle because you have more testosterone and you have better nutrients circulating your body. And that's why it all starts with what you eat. That's why you want to stay away from shitty foods. Because the quality of your semen is actually coming from the quality of your food, the quality of body tissues, the quality of brain cells, the quality of life is all starting with what you eat. You literally become what you eat. And that's, if you don't take away, if everybody watching this or listening to this takes away one thing, always remember it all starts with the quality of food. And since the quality of food right now on the planet is pretty shitty, and we're allowing governments and big corporations to spray our foods and destroy soil and do all these things, we have to take these extra steps to protect ourselves and our own health. So as the semen, as all of these things get redistributed in their body, your body heals, it repairs from any damages that are there, and it starts to stimulate, and it stimulates your testosterone, which gives you more masculine qualities. With more masculine qualities comes more attraction, motivation, comes more energy, higher libido, more desire for not only sex, but for success. Now, here's the really interesting part. Well, first of all, let me stop there. Do you have any questions
Yeah,
about
like
before
so
I'm
basically,
going
like what you're saying was
to
like
that?
a lot of basically you're saying like a lot of the food nowadays is poisoning people. Pornography can kind of strip away someone's masculinity. Is there anything else? Because there's a certain feeling that you feel when you step up to a plate and you're a man. And so kind of going back to the original question we're asked, like the spiritual warfare behind it, and like what kind of spiritual warfare have you gone through, or mental warfare have you gone through? It's like what part, what other things have you noticed that strip you of that feeling of being a man and staying in that masculine core? Because there's a lot of other things too that I think can strip people from that masculine core and identity, whether it be something spiritual on a spiritual plane, or like you could say it's frequencies or vibrations. But like for you personally, like what have you seen? What things have you seen strip you
Every
of that masculine
Yeah.
feeling?
Yeah, so marijuana, alcohol, pornography, processed foods and sugars, and high salts, greasy foods, not being active, sedentary lifestyle where you're just sitting and watching screens all day. All of these things are ultimately stripping our masculine frame because your body is responding to environment, meaning the reason when you work out your muscle grows is because your body's like, okay, you're lifting, so we're going to have to put on more muscle mass so you can lift better. Your body is always gearing you towards success. It's pushing you to be better at whatever it is that you're doing. When you are poisoning your body in all these different ways, social media is another one. Anything that's a vice in your life is ultimately weakening you. It's weakening your personal power and self control. So take a look in inventory of your life and say, where do I have vice in my life? Where am I being controlled by external circumstances? Whether I'm controlled by, I get if I, video games or weed or alcohol or pornography. If it's ice, if you can't put it down, if it has control over you, you are losing your masculine frame. And from a spiritual perspective, um, look, right now there's a massive spiritual war going on the planet, right? Like it's like the planet is in the middle of a spiritual war and it's going to keep bubbling up. And that war is basically it's a war against God. It's a war against spirituality. It's a war against consciousness. When you are low energy and totally controlled by external circumstances, you can't feel or connect with the kingdom within you. You can't connect with the spiritual essence of who you are within yourself because your whole mind is outside of your body. When I say your mind is outside of your body, think about when you're watching porn, how your whole mind is like locked into this screen. Like you're totally unaware of who you are. Same thing when you're doing drugs and alcohol or you're watching so much TV. Your whole mind is locked outside of your body. Therefore, you can't be connected to what's within you. And what's within you? Consciousness, awareness. And so the more that you give your awareness so deeply to useless things, you're essentially becoming spiritually drained and disconnected. And then you become very easily controlled, right? Next thing you know, one of my students was talking about how like, he would just pull over into a drive-through, even if he wasn't hungry, just to get like some salty food or some burger or something like this, right? It's like he's not even hungry and he's sitting in the drive-through. That's being controlled. Or it's like, yeah, you know what? Like a lot of guys are like, you know what? I'm gonna get my shit together. I'm gonna, today's gonna be the day. Oh, maybe tomorrow I'll just roll another joint and play this video game. Tomorrow I'll do it. Tomorrow I'll do it. That's being controlled. And when you're like that, you don't have the energy to go build your dreams and build your businesses and hear what God has put in your heart for you to do, to be a great provider. Like, what is our duty as men? Our duty is to provide, to protect, and to produce. And we as men feel the best when we're doing that at the highest levels available to us. When I put in a day, when I'm like, man, I put in a day, like I did it today, like I got my work done, I made my calls, I supported my clients at the highest level. I killed it at the gym. I feel good. I feel good about myself. I have high self-image, high self-esteem. I'm confident. When I don't do that, any guy knows this. When you're like, oh man, I'm procrastinating on those projects. I'm behind on my bills. I'm not making money. I'm not, there's no women in my life that are, that I'm connected with. You feel like shit. You have low self-image, low self-esteem. And that's the spiritual warfare. And there is a war against men right now, against masculinity, because if you take away strong men from a society, that society becomes easily controlled, manipulated, and exploited. And that's what's happening in our society. We're being overtaxed. We're being freedom of speech is being threatened. Freedom of movement is being threatened. Freedom of bodily autonomy was clearly threatened through the pandemic. A lot of guys don't know, or if you don't know me and haven't followed me for some time, I ran in the 2021 Canadian federal election. I was completely attacked and made fun of all over the world. Vice News, India Times, all these major publications attacking
Howard
me
Stern.
and Howard Stern, me and the semen retention movement and what we're doing. And now I see they're attacking NoFap, trying to say, oh, it's pseudoscience, it's unscientific. Actually, it's the opposite. You need to be doing these things. This is a direct war on masculinity to take away the family core. Because if you take away strong men, men of value, men of principle, then you take away those who are protecting the women and children, and society becomes easily manipulated and controlled. So this is the war we're in, and everybody needs to wake up that we're at war, and we need to win this war, not just for ourselves. Of course, we owe it to yourself. Like if you're a guy and you're listening to this, you owe it to yourself to find out who you are. And you can't do that when your mind is being controlled by external circumstances. It's time to go within, connect back to your essence, the kingdom, the spiritual part within you, and be like, what am I here to do? And you'll notice as you start to align with your natural masculine duties, providing at a highest level, advancing, competing, producing, providing, protecting. Oh, first of all, you're going to feel amazing about yourself, because when you go to bed at night, you're going to be like, yeah, I put it in. I put it in today and I feel good about that. And you know what? That's very attractive to women. That's very attractive to other men, because who do you want to partner with? Who do I want to do business with? I want to do business with a high producer, not somebody who can't produce. Right? So job opportunities, income opportunities, business opportunities, social status, women, all of that becomes available to you. And when you have values, you're responsible for those people that you're connected with. It's one thing to be like, yeah, I can get laid a lot. Yeah, fine, great. So what? But can you provide for her mentally, emotionally, spiritually? Can you even provide for her materially? Many men are struggling to do that, right? So there's a huge spiritual battle on, and we're just warming up this battle, because people, and especially the new generations coming up, whether they realize it or not, are growing up in a heavily Marxist type of education. And if you're not familiar with what Marxism is, it's a type of philosophy that was actually, it's pretty much what Nazi Germany was using. It's a philosophy, it's a political philosophy in which everything is run by, it's a totalitarian society where everything is run by the government or few people, and you basically got to get on board with their ideology. And one of the first things they do, if you look at any communist Marxist nation, so if you're thinking communist Marxism, so Karl Marx wrote the Communist Manifesto. So communism is essentially a Marxist philosophy. What is one of the first things that they attack and they destroy in any totalitarian society? Religion. And it doesn't matter which one, whether it's Christianity, Islam, Hindu, it doesn't matter. They want to destroy anything that empowers people to be conscious for themselves. And what does spirituality do? And when I'm talking about spirituality, I don't care what religion you are. I have guys working with me from all different types of religions, denominations, and guys who don't consider themselves associated with any religion, but they just recognize that I feel better when I'm a self-controlled or self-mastered man. You see, The reason they want to destroy those institutions, your ideas of God or spirituality or higher power, is because then who becomes the higher power? The authority, the government, or the dictator. And we have to be very conscious that this is happening right now. So I've dealt with it all, man. I've struggled with porn and watching porn, don't watching porn. I struggled with marijuana for years, years, years. I've been smoking dope since I was a teenager. I've been jerking off like most guys. I grew up in the Western culture of like, get paid, get laid, type of thing, right? Like, my heroes were 50 Cent and Tupac Shakur, right? You know what I mean? Like this is who I grew up listening to. And I look at my own life, and I look at, the men are in the society right now, and we're being lied to. Like, that's just the straight up truth. You're being lied to. You're being told that your masculinity is toxic, or your masculinity is harmful. You need to be a subdued man. You need to be a passive man. You need to not be competitive. It's wrong. It's not the way nature designed you. And so if you get back, what semen retention does and what this lifestyle does is it puts you back on nature's plan. And nature's plan is for you to be a leader, for you to lead your family, for you to be attractive, for you to have high self-worth and self-esteem so you can go out and produce and provide and protect, and ultimately to fight these battles that we're going to have to fight, because there's many battles to face coming up internally and externally. But you have to win it internally, because there's no winning it externally unless we get more men to win their battles internally. And I'm not perfect, and I'm not a saint or anything like that, but just even small improvements towards a more self-controlled life, and every man will know how much better he feels and how much better he can produce and provide in bigger ways in his life.
Awesome. One thing that I want to go into is talking about Ojas. And I think the way that you build Ojas is basically through detachment, and detachment from desires. And so when we talk about semen retention, you're somewhat detaching from the desire of sex. And then when that happens, you frees up yourself to have more spiritual power and more spiritual energy. And I mean, you also mentioned too, like, the desire for food and all these cravings that you get from this food. You're giving your energy to these cravings, and therefore you're losing your ojas because you're not able to detach from, these desires, which is also why people fast. They fast and pray and things like that, because they're trying to detach from these bodily desires in order to increase their spiritual power in nature. So can you talk a little bit about ojas and how do you build ojas for yourself and things like that? So
Sure. So just in case somebody doesn't know what the word ojas means, it's a Sanskrit word, and it means aura. And we all have an aura, our magnetic field. So how ojas is created is also linked to our sexual energy. So now we're getting into like very like deeper esoteric concepts and science. So here's what happens. So remember I told you that after about 10 to 14 days of semen retention, semen starts to recirculate in the body. So your body's recirculating all of its best stuff. This is by your cup overfloweth, meaning you have an abundance now of energy. You are overflowing with energy because you're containing that energy. Now, the body's got to put that energy somewhere. Energy has to go somewhere. It has to do something. So what happens is if it doesn't be used on a physical level, it gets transformed into a spiritual energy. So I want you to think of water is a physical substance, and then when you heat up water and you turn up water and you bring it to a boiling point, it begins to transform from a physical substance into a gas. Similarly, semen goes through the same process in the body. Once you've got enough semen and you're retaining, the body goes, hey, man, what are we going to do with all this? We're circulating, you're feeling good, you're more energy, but we're like really like developing, a higher, we really have a lot of energy. So what the body does is it begins to transform the physical essence of semen into a gas or an energy, just like water into gas. It's into an energy which then begins to circle all the cells of your body. And your cells literally begin to vibrate at a higher level. And because you're detaching from all of these bodily desires, excessive food, all of these things that are associated with the body, this ojas aura begins to circulate all throughout your body. And this literally begins to change your vibration or frequency. This elevates your frequency to a whole new level in which you have spiritual power. And spiritual power is what's attractive. Spiritual power is real power. So always remember, matter follows mind, consciousness, spirit. So the physical is only moving based upon spirit or consciousness. So the more spirit you have, ojas you have, the more you can manipulate the matter or the matrix or the physical world in which you live in. And that's why, like, for instance, in my training, in my powerhouse man training or my sexual alchemy trainings, I talk about how to raise your ojas to bring that energy up through the body and then use the power of focus and mind to focus on the things you want. And what you'll notice is as you get better and better at this, is you'll begin to attract opportunities and whatever you're focused on very easily. All of a sudden you start thinking of something and then boom, there it is. It shows up. You're like, yeah, I think I'd like a date tonight. Or for girl. And guess what? You've got the confidence, the energy to be like, hey, let me take you out tonight. So the amount of power that comes with this is tremendous. And you become sovereign, free. And you become free from the designed matrix in which we're living in which authorities want you to live in and don't want you to know your own personal power. Because if you knew your own personal power and who you were, you wouldn't be going and working a job every day that you hate. Now, some of us have nothing wrong with having a job, right? And if that's what you want to do, great. But many men are in jobs that they hate and they have no plan to get out of it. And they don't see a way out because they're not sovereign. They think they're dependent on, oh, I got to be dependent on this person and that person, instead of being dependent on nature or God's laws. You see, once you are sovereign, you recognize there are laws that are above government laws and man-made laws. And those laws, when aligned with them, give you abundance, happiness, health, and perfect expression. Meaning the things you're passionate about, your interests, you're going to find a way to create them and attract them in your life. So every man should be looking ojas. That is done through detachment, yes, and development of your own energy, meaning stop wasting your vital life force and fluid, which is your energy. Always remember, energy is sex is your most basic motivator. It is it's the it at an unconscious level, it is driving everything. It is driving your desire to want to excel. Here's what happens. Let's say you don't you don't jerk off. Here's what your subconscious and your body already knows. It's like, man, I want to get you laid. I want to get you a woman. I want to get you a family. You are retaining. So what we're going to do is we're going to make you more attractive by up-leveling your testosterone, spiking your testosterone levels, and giving you ambition and focus so that you can go excel, so that you can be a great provider, protector, and producer. Because when you're those things, women will be attracted to you. So what you're doing is you're using your own biology. You're like hacking your own biology. And by practicing self-control and discipline, you're getting your body to push you to higher ambitions and higher levels. And then as you continue to master that lifestyle, that energy gets transformed into ojas, spiritual power, in which you can then use to have more influence and attraction in this world. And ultimately, if you desire to have spiritual realization, you'll start to realize yourself as a spiritual being and not a physical being. So ojas, with enough time, becomes your light body or spiritual body, which is transcendental to this material world or platform. So when, like, for instance, when, Jesus refers to the kingdom of heaven is an eternal place, this is also known as the Vakuntas in the Vedas, right? This is a part of the universe which the physical material world is not what it is not there. It's a spiritual world. It's an eternal body because this physical body will material world, the physical world has to take on birth. It has to grow, maintain for some time, perhaps produce some offspring or produce something, and then it will die. But you, when I say you, I'm not talking about your body or your mind, but you, your spirit, energy lives on forever. It's eternal. It was never born. It never dies. For you to realize yourself as a spiritual eternal being, you need to you need to turn matter into spirit. And the way to do that is to detach yourself or unattach yourself from the physical urges and senses. A process that is not easy, but is so rewarding and so fulfilling, where eventually you will realize yourself as an eternal spirit soul. Oh, I'm consciousness. I have a body, I have a mind, but I am not this body and I am not this mind. I am energy and I am consciousness. And more importantly, I am the consciousness that directs that energy. And I am free. I am sovereign. I am not under the control of some government or some tyranny or somebody who wants to make sure that I live to their agenda. And that's why there's such a big war on masculinity now, is because they don't want you to be spiritually realized. They don't want you to think that you're anything other than a cog and a slave in a wheel in a system that makes a few people rich, but makes most of us broke, poor, unhealthy. And look what they're selling us. Crap. I mean, what kind of society, if the leaders of society really cared for you, you think that they would allow, you know, Coca-Cola to just be everywhere? Nothing wrong with Coke. I have a Coke once in a while. I hate it. Actually, it was so, because I don't do that stuff anymore. I'm like, this is disgusting. There's no way. You think if the society cared for you, they would tell you, they would punish you for growing your own food? I'll tell you, if I ever got the opportunity to be a president or a prime minister, I would be encouraging my people, grow your own food, grow, educate your, have strong families, have strong culture. Life is about relationship, not up and slaving all day. Else can get rich and you get paid just enough to pay your bills and barely scrape by. It's bullshit. And we need to wake up to that. And more importantly, men, we need to have the courage to do something about it. Because it's one thing to say, it's one thing to wake up to it. It's another thing to do something about it. And that's why it's so important that we realize ourselves as souls. Because once we realize ourselves as who we truly are, that we are sovereign by God's design, by nature's design, then we wouldn't give ourselves to these systems that exploit us and exploit our women and children. Stand up, we would protect, we would provide, and we would tell them straight up to fuck off, and we'd go and live the life that we're designed to live. But we're not doing that at mass level. But hey, that's what we're doing here. We're educating and we're getting this message out there and we're growing. And you know what? It's scaring the shit out of them. And I love it. I love it. I sleep well at night knowing that they're panicking.
That's all facts right there, straight facts. Last question here, since we're running low on time here. What does it mean to be a masterful lover?
A masterful lover is somebody who takes an approach of service in the bedroom, meaning when we got most guilty of this as well, use the women in our life, whether it's our wife or we're dating or whatever it is our situation is, as like a masturbation tool. Like, hey, just like get me off, right? Like you're here to get me off. And as soon as I get off, I roll over and go to sleep. And I don't even care if you're satisfied or not or anything. So a masterful lover is someone who's in control of themselves in the bedroom so that when they show up for their partner, they can first of all please their partner. They can last as long as that they want. They can experience non-ejaculatory orgasms. The average man after penetration is lasting anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes in the bedroom, while it takes the average woman at least about 20 minutes to get into a state before her peak or orgasm is possible. This means we have a lot of women dissatisfied in the bedroom. Hence, a lot of women are not interested in having sex with their partners. And a lot of guys complain to me, well, my wife doesn't want to have sex with me. She's not interested in sex. Like, no, she's interested in sex, just not with you. And that's the harsh reality, right? And you have to be brutally honest if you actually want to change. If you don't want to change, you keep telling yourself a lie that she's not interested in sex. Women are actually more than we are. They are when in the right environments and unburdened, they are very simple. The feminine energy is a simple energy. A masterful lover to please his partner, who can serve in the bedroom, who isn't just, going inside of her, pumping a few times and then rolling over and going to sleep. Not only does he know how to connect with her on a physical level and please her physically, but he also knows how to please her emotionally. He knows how to make her feel safe so that she does want to open up and completely fall into her feminine. A masterful lover is someone who can give his woman multiple orgasms and please her to the point where she's craving him. A masterful lover is someone who serves in the bedroom, who recognizes that it's about her pleasure, not yours. And you know what? Women are so beautiful. Women are so amazing that you please a woman, she has a natural tendency to want to reciprocate. So if you as a man can put yourself aside, if you can put yourself and your desires aside and connect with her in the way she wants to be connected with, intimate, loving, vulnerable, a master in the guys have challenge with vulnerability. Can you look to your woman's eyes and make love to her? Oh my gosh, she will melt for you. She will absolutely melt. And most women have never had that type of experience. So what they also know is porn types. Most people are trying to mimic porn. And porn is largely based heavily on for men. Of course, it's geared much more towards men. But look at women's porn and you'll notice it's very different. It's very intimate. It's very connected. There's a time and place for like carnal, pulling hair and biting and doing all that crazy stuff that guys want to do. But what guys don't realize is that a masterful lover is someone who has dynamic in the bedroom. So can you be intimate? Can you be soft? Can you be gentle? Then can you turn it up and take her to town and then bring her back down? Can you take her on a journey? When I like to tell a story in that. Like, it's like build it up, have dynamic, be in control, be in your masculine, and absolutely do not ejaculate before she orgasms. Right? Because if you can get her to orgasm and you don't need that, she will crave you and love you, not just inside the bedroom, but outside too. She'll be so deeply connected to you. So a masterful lover isn't someone who can just please a woman physically, but he knows how to connect with her mentally and spiritually. He knows how to circulate energy and get her energy ignited so that she opens up and ignites her feminine. And when her feminine is ignited, then you'll get everything you want and more. Trust me, she'll take you to town.
Free dinner. All right, Nakula, thank you for coming on. I appreciate you. Where can people find you, though?
Absolutely. So my website, just my name, nakuladas.com, and pretty much every Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, look up Nakula Das. You'll see me there. I'm active on those platforms, TikTok, all that kind of stuff. We're trying to put ourselves everywhere. But go to nakuladas.com. There's a free course you can take called the Free Sex Transmutation Guide to get you started. And you can also book a call with me for free, and let's connect. Let's jump on a call and talk about how we can take your masculinity and game to the next level in and outside the bedroom.
All right, I appreciate you. Sorry, I appreciate you coming on, Nakula. It was a good talk.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you as well. Keep up the great work.